So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Nick Seth-Smith. I'm president of the Inland Empire Professional Photographers and Videographers, IEPPV to our friends. And this is the first image competition of 2020. Welcome. We have three illustrious judges here. One of them is brand new to us, has never judged in a live online competition before. The other two are friends and family that you know well. So first of all, we have Yannick Wazik, who is with PP San Diego County. He's an amazing photographer. He and his wife are wedding and portrait photographers. He's also a photographic printer, I believe a photographic master, and truly an amazing judge. Second judge we have is Casey Newman. As you know, Casey is a past president of IEPPV and PPC. He's been around in the industry for a long time, has been a staunch supporter of ours, and is an amazing judge back again, truly a phenomenal photographer. And then the third is Stephen Scharf, who is relatively new to the PPA community, but very well established as a photographer, photographic instructor. He was one of our attendees at F64 Live last year and also judged for us. So without further ado, we will step into the competition. We have, I believe, 58 images this evening, and an exciting set of some new competitors, as well as some existing old hands. With that, judges, if you're ready, I will move on to the first category.
I am ready.
And the first category is children. Okay, the first image in the children category is Waiting for Daddy. Waiting for Daddy. Okay, the score is 80 points. Stephen, why don't you kick us off here?
Sure. I think actually I gave this an 85. I think it's an excellent child portrait. The control of the lighting is superb. There's a really nice control over the definition of the skin tones and the image overall. I think the image is very well composed with respect to the subject. If there was only one little thing I would add is I'd like to have maybe just a little bit more negative space both below and to the right of her hands, just to balance the compositional weight a little bit. But overall, I think it's very well done.
Cool. Okay, next image in the competition is Pensive. Pensive. Okay, the score is 80 points. Yannick, let's hear from you on this one.
I scored 78 for this image. What I like about the lighting is very, very nice. The whites of the eyes a little bit over-processed, a little bit too bright. But why I didn't merit this one is sometimes when the processing of the image is overpowering the actual image, that's really what's happening here. I think the noise or the texture is way too strong and actually takes away from the image itself. So that's my main reason why I didn't merit it.
Okay, thank you. And the next image in, come on, sorry, forgive me. We're having technical difficulties here. Where's my screen gone? Okay, the next image in this category is Armed and Dangerous. Armed and Dangerous. Okay, the score is 77 points. Casey, take it away.
Yeah, I was 78 on this. I love his expression and the costuming and what he's doing. His activity is great. He's clearly very into it, and I love that about the image. My issues are his gun, so to speak, in quotes, is blown out considerably on the top, way out of focus in the front, and that's so prominent in the image that it sort of pulls focus away from his face and a really nice expression.
Okay, thank you. So the next image in this category is St. Patrick's Princess. St. Patrick's Princess. Score is 81 points. Stephen, back to you.
Yeah, I actually gave this an 85. I think it's excellent. I think the pose is actually quite charming. She's engaging with the photographer. The control of the lighting on her face and complexion is superb. And overall, I think the control over the depth of field and the on the subject is very good. It looks like it's falling off just a little on her left hand on camera right. And the background's just a little bit distracting, but overall I think it's a charming portrait.
Okay, thank you. Next image, still with children, is happiness. Happiness. Okay, 78 points. And Yannick, back to you.
Unfortunately, this image is out of focus. It's, you know, soft at the eyes and just overall the face. Hard to say where the real focus is. At somewhere on the head. Also, I don't know if this is just the screen or the processing, but there's definitely some bending going on the background. So from a technical perspective, I think there's some ways to improve it. The lighting is a little bit flat, but I mean it's not that bad. But the last thing, also the colors are a little bit distracting away from the face. They're kind of competing with each other, the deep red and the blue. So it's, if you select the color tones, go with the tones versus like the colors fighting with each other.
Okay, excellent, thank you. So next image still in the children's category is decisions. And the score is 81 points. Casey, this one's with you.
Yeah, I was right at 80 for this. I think fits in the merit category. Lovely portrait of a young lady, and the titling is perfect for the expression and everything about the image. So I think that all plays together really nicely. The lighting in her face is a little flat maybe, but it's keeping in the high key school probably works. And as I said, I'm in merit in there, but just barely.
Thank you. Okay, the final image in the children's category is not really. Okay, final score is 76. Stephen, back to you.
Yeah, I think that score is appropriate for this. I scored it just 1 point higher. I think overall it's a very good attempt. I think that the lighting is just a little bit too pronounced. The luminance is a little bit too bright, especially in her hand, which distracts me away from her face. And I think the thing I struggle with most is the composition's just a little bit too tightly cropped in her hand and gesture. Again, I find a little bit distracting because it's leading me away from her eyes and her gaze as to where she's looking.
Nick, if I can just add also, there's something going on with the hair. I don't know, what kind of, it seems like there's some smudge.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's a very good point. Yeah, there's some sort of cloning artifact in her hair or something.
Yeah, something is happening there. Yeah,
I see that.
Good catch.
Okay, we do have one image for review, and okay, happiness. So judges, in the chat for Zoom, if you would type in either yes or no for thumbs up or thumbs down, and the image stays the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so now moving on to the next category. The next category is commercial. Okay, these are images which have been shot under commercial conditions, may or may not be in an actual commercial shoot, and sometimes the images do come with an associated tear sheet. If they have one, we will then share that with you, but I'm not aware of having received any. Okay, first image in the commercial category is want to play.
Okay.
Okay, image scores 79 points. And Casey, this one's with you.
Yeah, I think that in the commercial category, I can see where what they're doing. My issue primarily is with the light on her face. It's too high overhead, and she's got those dark shadows under her eyes, which is not really a flattering look. I think I know it's commercial, but I still think that the background can be brought down a bit so that she stands out a little bit more from all the busyness of everything that's going on back there. It doesn't have to be quite so prominent. Some of the lights and everything almost overpower her. So that I couldn't quite get into the merit for that. I believe I was 77 on this.
I think actually it was 78, but
78,
thank you.
okay, yeah.
Image 79. Now, there is only one image in the commercial category. This was it. So judges in the chat window, if you just give me a thumbs up or it stays the same, that would be good, please. So yes for thumbs up.
Takes a second to get back to that screen.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Okay, the image remains the same. And now we're moving on to the digital artistry category. This is a category where the primary focus is on the digital work that went into producing the final image. Of course, the original photography is important, but it's as much focused on the work that went into creating the final image and the Photoshop or whatever tool was used, as opposed to just the results. First image in the digital artistry category is called Circle of Leaves. Circle of Leaves. And the final score is 85 points. Stephen, I think it's your turn.
Yeah, I think this is a very creative image. It's a very interesting concept, which I find fascinating. And I think it's very well executed. Actually, like the control of light and the texture and the control over the texture, particularly with the predominant leaf at 11 o'clock, is excellent. So it actually kind of recapitulates some interesting forms in nature. And, some, just for me as a scientist, I key on some things as to why natural objects do this. So I think it actually is very effective at kind of capturing, I guess, an artificial creation that harkens back to a natural, something that could actually occur in nature. The only criticism I would have, or suggestion I would have for improvement of this, is maybe to try the crop square rather than all the negative space on the right. I'm not sure that really adds anything to the image. So this just might work also as a square crop rather than, or a 1-to-1 crop rather than looks like a 3-to-2 crop.
Okay, thank you. Next image and the final image in digital artistry is Emerson. Emerson. Final score is 83 points. Yannick, I believe this one's with you.
I scored 81. Definitely a merit image, nicely done, the painterly portrait. There's definitely, there's a nice portrait, but there's, the one lacking is the impact, especially the painterly portraits, usually like when it's super well done, there's his initial impact. And the color scheme, I think it's all good. Maybe the initial photo, it's not that appealing as a portrait. So that's why, it cannot be, above 85, for now. But, otherwise beautifully done.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have no images for review in the digital artistry category. Our next category is the illustrative category. Now, this is kind of the catch-all category. It's where we put images that don't belong in other categories. And so we'll see a mixture of all sorts. The first image in the illustrative category is Essence of Nature. Essence of Nature. Image scores 80 points. Casey, this one's with you.
I was 77 on this. For me, I just found the light on the flower to be bland and uninteresting. The dark of the stem, so much of that showing is a distracting element that it takes you out of the frame and almost leaves you there. A little tighter, and throw some sophistication into how you're lighting it, and I think you have a really nice image.
I'll just add, Nick, that the thing I struggled with, I was very close to Casey's score as well. The thing that I found most distracting is there's some sort of texture or grays in the background that keeps leading my eye away from the subject that I find distracting. So I don't know if it's banding or what it is, but it kind of looks like there's a grayish texture or content in the,
Yeah,
in the
I think
background.
it's some seamless with creases and some bending going on at the same time.
Yeah. So it keeps leading me away from the orchid, my eye away from it.
Thank you. No, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate the additional comment.
Yep.
Okay, next image in the illustrative category is healthy color. Healthy color. Okay, image scores 79 points. And Casey, I think we're with you now.
Just did the orchid.
Oh, you did? I beg your pardon, you're absolutely right. In that case, Stephen, it's your turn. My mistake.
I actually did I think it's Yannick's turn, actually, maybe.
You
Yep.
comment.
I'm gonna do it.
All right.
Okay, go ahead, Yannick.
I scored it 81. My eyes, nicely done. I mean, well controlled portrait of a basket. Initially, the highlights was bothering, but then it's like, it actually adds the shininess to the apples. So I'm okay with that. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's nicely done, and that's what it is.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just add a comment.
Sure.
The background I find a little bit distracting. There's a pattern back there. There's some noise. And I think that the surface that it's on is slightly tilted if I look from left to right. And again, these are subtle things. I think it's beautifully lit, and the control over the light overall is excellent. But I'm distracted by the slightly off platform that it's resting on. And I can see some banding in the background.
Oh, yeah. I see it now. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, next image in the illustrative category is Life Behind Bars. Life Behind Bars. Image scores 78 points. And Casey, this one's with you.
Yeah, I was right at 78. I love the concept. I think that's an interesting feeling to try and get across, and I like the attempt. For me, I feel like the image of the whatever that might be, a monkey of some kind in the background, it's just not a great image. It doesn't stand out as an image that's good enough to be a merit. And so then you add the really out of focus bars in front of it that is more of a distraction than anything else, even though it works within the concept, and you wind up with an image that just doesn't quite get into a merit category.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next image, still remaining in the illustrative category, is Wallflowers. Wallflowers. Okay, image scores 76 points. Stephen, this one's with you.
Yeah, I think I gave this that score as well, or very close. I think it's a nice attempt. I like the color palette. I guess where I struggle with this image is I don't know what the subject is or what the intention is, and if it's the kind of the slightly orange flower at lower right, then I'm not sure that it's positioned well enough to be the subject of the photograph. And then the the other parts of the other flowers that kind of go off out of the frame are cropped, and then the shadows of the background all kind of compete for each other. And so I get a lot of tension in the photograph because I'm not really sure where I should be looking. And that kind of keeps me from understanding the intent behind this photograph.
Cool. Thank you. Next image remaining in the illustrative category is Young Monk. Young Monk. Image scores 85 points. Yannick, this one's with you.
I scored 87. Image is beautiful. The tones, which is the candlelit, of the monk. It's not, the highlights are not overblown. Blown out. So good exposure. Technically, probably it's nothing difficult, but the overall impact and feel and the color balance of this photo is gorgeous, and I like the kind of stoic expression of the monk as well, kind of almost mimicking the figures, on the wall behind him. So just nice impact, image, beautifully done.
I agree with Yannick. This is Stephen. I'd like to add just one comment. I think the concept is wonderful, and I agree with everything Yannick has said about the conception of this and the execution, and the feel. The atmosphere is wonderful. I would just maybe suggest to the maker to look into maybe some luminosity masking, and just look into see if you can pull the luminance of those flames that are around him down just a little bit to kind of match the luminance of the flame that's in front of his face. And then I think it would really be very, really an outstanding photograph, because the conception and the idea is really wonderful.
Thank you. I'm sure the maker will enjoy that comment as well. Okay, next image remaining with illustrative is Painted Lady. Painted Lady. We're just waiting for the last score to come in. Image scores 82 points. And Casey, I'm going to give this one to you.
Yeah, I was at 85 on this. Impact is really strong. I really enjoyed that, and the artistry in the painterly technique I'm really enjoying is heavily painted, and maybe my even though I'm at 85, my critique that would keep me from going higher is it feels really strong in the painting, being able to see the painterly strokes so heavily. That's probably my strongest negative for it. I'm certainly enjoying the artistry and the impact and the feel of the image, and as well as I think it was well titled as well. So 85 for me.
Thank you, Casey. Okay, moving on. The next image, still remaining with illustrative, is Fisherman. Fisherman. Image scores 83 points. Stephen, this one's with you.
I actually scored this in 85. I think I know who the maker is of this, but if I'm wrong, then I'll be surprised. But I love the photograph. I love the conception of it, the execution, the control in the black and white, the pose, the expression on the guy's face. I think it's wonderful. Don't have a lot to add. I guess maybe if I would add some constructive critique, you could again use a little bit of luminosity masking to bring the luminance in the kind of the foggy sky in the middle there down just a little bit. But overall, I like this photograph a lot.
Okay. Yannick, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I don't know if is it too late to challenge, or can I still challenge it?
Oh, you can still challenge.
Okay, so I'd like to challenge it. I think it definitely, deserves to go above 85.
Yeah.
The composition of this photo is I mean, it's superb. The triangles that you have in,
Yeah.
you can create so many triangles in this composition And, as a, if you look at the photo for the first time, it just strikes you. I mean, the composition, the lines are so strong that for the illustrative category, I mean, definitely deserves to be above 85.
I would agree with that. I'm happy to rescore it.
Before you go ahead, Casey, could we hear from you, please?
Yes, sure. I'm clearly the bad guy in this. I was 78, I believe. For me, I enjoy the image. I think there's a lot of technique and compositional strength in it. My issue mainly was that the face does not appear to be sharp to me. There doesn't seem to be critical sharpness in the eyes and the face where I see other elements of the image that do look sharper than the face looks. So I had a problem with that. Would be strong. I don't know that I would be more than 85 on it. So I would certainly move some. I would be happy to do that.
Okay, Yannick in rebuttal.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely see that the image is a little bit softer than I normally like as well. I mean, but the softness kind of it's on the overall image. Also, I assume this is something in the movement. The boat is moving, so that's also some level of difficulty to capture and actually capture this kind of composition in the movement. That's what makes the level of difficulty even higher. But I think that the impact of the composition for me is much stronger than just the little bit softness of the image.
I agree.
Okay, gentlemen, please would you rescore? And when you do, if you would check the challenge button in your score sheet, that would be good. Okay, final score is 86 points. Good challenge.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, the next image in the illustrative category is Daybreak. Daybreak. Final score is 79 points, and I think I'm going to give this one to Yannick.
So I scored at 81. I like the kind of the cool. I mean, the calm colors and the overall calm feeling of this photo. I had, I was kind of on the edge whether, to go below 80 or score at 81s. And I took it, to 81 based on the colors. The few things that really could make this image stronger. One is to remove the distracting colors, especially the red ones. You could easily desaturate them, so that because, this red colors are very strong usually. So they compete with the greens and yellows in this photo. Also, if you control the as mentioned before, the luminosity mask or just dodging and burning. I mean, the sun, the light in the center is a little bit too strong. It's a little bit blown out, so you could control it a bit better. But yeah, those are my. And then it's illustrative, so you can clone out very easily those. There's boys on the right. There's some of those sticks, hanging, in the water, and make it really like, serene, like so that the overall feel is very calm versus those little items that are distracting.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is there's some sort of artifact. I can't tell if it's an actual reflection, but when you look down at the branches at the lower right that are just below the cabin, there's a light streak that I can't tell what that is, if it's an actual reflection, but I'm not sure what that is. It doesn't look natural to me because of the shape and the color of the light on it. I don't know what it is, but it's right in the middle of that bush there. I scored that a little bit lower because I found that a little bit distracting. I'm not sure what I'm looking at there, but it doesn't look natural to me.
Okay, thank you, Stephen.
Yeah.
Okay, next image in the illustrative category is Majestic. Majestic. Okay, score is 80 points. Casey.
Yeah, I was at 82. Very interesting image. I has a little bit of impact, some sophistication in the lights. They haven't gotten too crazy with reflective surfaces and specular highlights. I like the very subtle horizon in there. It sort of gives it a base that it's resting on. The negative space, I think, is probably just about where it should be. I might be tempted to go in a little tighter and let the details sing out some more, but I think this goes on the merit category for me, 82.
Nick, if I can just add one item. So this egg has, a lot of those crystals or some kind of gemstones around, right? I assume they should be shiny and kind of reflecting light, but with the light that is used right now, they look pretty flat. So to make the image stronger, I recommend to play with the light, get a little bit from the back, so that those little gemstones, they shine a lot more, because that's really the beauty of this egg.
Thank you, Yannick. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, so moving on to the next image in the illustrative category, egretting life. Egretting life. Okay, score is 76 points. Lost track of where we are. So Yannick, why don't you take this one?
I scored 75. This, in this image, there's way too many things going on. I mean, all this little grass, so distracting with the bird. The bird tones are very similar to the ones, I guess those are a reflection of the clouds, some gray clouds. If the maker would like position his or her angle so that the bird is on the blue part of the water, I don't know if it's possible, or just wait for it, but then the bird would stand a lot more. Right now, just blending it with the rest of the image.
Okay, thank you. Next image in the illustrative category is Home at Last. Home at Last. Okay, score is 81 points. And let's go to Casey.
Yeah, I'm right at 81. Very nice storytelling, well titled to match the story being told. A pleasing image, got some good impact. I love the tonal color palette is all stays within the same family. It's really, really nicely done. Exposures really well, so it's all the softness of everything going on in the foreground is really, really nicely done. I think easy merit for me.
Excellent, thank you.
Just one more note, Nick.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Yannick.
There's some dust spots on the top right sky, so something to pay attention, especially in the sky like this. I do see some bending, but I think it's just the compression of the web. But otherwise, it's handled the color grading. I mean, the graduation is actually very well done without like any major bending. So usually adding noise to your photo will reduce the bending. For a photo like this.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. And the final image in the illustrative category is I compliment you. I compliment you. Image scores 79 points. Casey.
I was at 75 on this. I like the abstract quality of what's going on there, but I'm not finding the subject matter so much. It's pretty busy, and the colors are wild and sort of all over the place. So not being able to feel a subject or a story that's being told, it's a little. It has a soft feeling for me, so I couldn't get into merit with it.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Casey said. I don't know what the subject is either.
Okay. Well, that wraps up the illustrative category. Before we move on, we have several images for review, starting off with healthy color. Give me 1 second to pull that back up. Okay, healthy cover. Again, in the comments, if you can just type in either yes or no. Yes means it goes up, and no means it stays where it is. Okay, the image remains the same. Next image for review is Life Behind Bars. Life Behind Bars. Image remains the same. And then we have Daybreak. Daybreak. Image remains the same. Image remains the same. And then finally, the last image for review is I Compliment You. I Compliment You. And the image remains the same. Okay, so the next category is the landscape category. And we have
Oh, goody.
good number of images in landscape.
Good.
So let's start off with Gradient of the Grains. Gradient of the Grains.
That'll learn me to hit submit better.
Thank you, Casey. Okay, image scores 81 points. And since you took so long, Casey, I'm going to let you pick up the landscape category.
Of course, as it should be. I was 85 on this. I really enjoyed this image. Well, remind me the final score again.
Final score was 81 points.
Okay. I love the crispness and the clarity as it blows through the image from front to back, and the contrast of the warm tones in the front and the cool sky in the back really worked for me. Well titled for what we're seeing, and I even like how in the right hand corner they're mirroring that darker sand tone that's it's a repeated pattern from later, and they've let that show up in that corner. Like that is kind of a nice touch. So for me, I like this. I enjoyed this image quite a bit. A lot impactful, some technique. So I'm 85.
Okay. Next image in the landscape category is Waterfall. Waterfall. Image scores 76 points. Stephen, this one's with you.
Yeah, I scored this just under at 75. I think that it has a lot of potential. It's nicely abstract with respect to a landscape. I think where it falls down for me is the technical execution. The lighting and the contrast profile is too flat for my tastes, and then the water really needs some control over the tonal range. It's all blown out completely from about the middle of the image where the water is cascading down to that first large rock and then into the larger pool of water at the bottom. There's virtually no texture or detail in the water there. It's probably there in the actual photograph. And so I think this image has potential as a nice abstract landscape, but I would recommend the maker to maybe look into using Lumenzia, which is, again, a luminance masking plugin for Photoshop, to really provide more control over the water coming down, and then also some control over the lighting and tonal range of the surrounding rock, because it's just a little too flat to pull me into the subject.
Cool. Thank you, sir. Okay, the next image in the landscape category is Storm on the Prairie. Storm on the Prairie. Image scores 86 points. Yannick.
I scored at 87, so I totally agree with the score. I mean, it's absolutely beautifully done. I mean, there's control in all the tones of the sky. Catching the lightning is fantastic, and then just a hint of the green, right? So we know that the main focus is on the sky here, but there's so there's just tiny bit of the land with the kind of opposite color. I mean, not truly opposite to blue, but it definitely not in the same palette of colors. It's just overall beautiful image, and the tones are well done as well.
Thank you. Next image in landscape category, and I apologize if I mispronounce this, but sunrise on Eigen. Sunrise on Eigen. Or maybe Eigen. Okay, image scores 83 points. Casey.
That was right at 82. This is a great location, I have to say. Just really interesting and well documented. For me, I would have liked to have been higher. I wish that the sky in the background were deeper and darker, and it just brought down a little bit. It's just really bright and pulls focus away from the foreground and the what's happening there, because it's so bright. It kind of overpowers everything else. And then the tree in the foreground being right over the water, almost a disappointment. I'd like to be sort of blocking me out. That said, I'm still 82, or I think it was 82. Merit image and easily deserves that.
Cool, thank you.
I'll just add a comment, Nick. Again, you've been hearing me beat this like a drum, but again, I think there's a lot of potential in this image. And again, luminosity masking here could really help the maker, I think, fully realize the potential of this image.
Cool.
Exactly along the lines of what Casey said about the sky and stuff. So
thank you, gentlemen. Next image is still standing. Still standing. Okay, image scores 81 points. Stephen, this one's with you.
yeah, I actually like this image a lot. It's very interesting to me as an architectural photographer, because when I first looked at it, it looked like that there was some extension distortion going on with this structure. I had to kind of look and see if it was really, you know, sagging and tilting this much, which it in fact appears to be. So it's very intriguing. I would say that overall, I like the feel and the gestalt of this a lot. I like the time of day. I think it's very nicely captured. I would say that you could probably come in just a little tighter in the foreground and lose a little bit of that empty space right in front of the structure in the grass there, which leads my eye just away a little bit. And then again, luminosity masking in the sky there so that the areas that are hot can be pulled down just a skosh so that we stay focused on that very interesting cabin and the visual leading us off into the hills. But I like this photograph a lot.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Great, gentlemen, thank you. Next image, still remaining in the landscape category, is Bridges in the Night. Bridges in the Night. Image scores 78 points. Yannick, I think we're back with you.
Yeah, so I mean the concept is not bad. I mean, I would say the subject matter, I mean, based on title, should be the bridges. But you know, the bridges are in silhouette, and the only things that we have details on are the buildings. So it kind of like, you know, maybe position, you know, the maker should position himself or herself, you know, so that the buildings are not in the frame, or just basically in post-processing remove the details from just, you know, burn it down, you know, so that you know, the buildings are darker. And it's also this image is over processed. There's a lot of halos going on, you know, around those bridges. This kind of, you know, too much noise, or just added noise, or just not controlled noise. But the main thing is that the halos around those bridges are very distracting. And then also the water, the bottom part of the water is just, you know, you can crop it a little bit tighter because it just doesn't add too much, you know, to the photo.
I'll just add my architectural photographer's eyes going off here, and I would say fix those verts as well, because again, the buildings are slightly canted to the right, and the bridge is as well. So just, again, fix the verticals also.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next image in the landscape category is Endless Aggression. Endless Aggression. Okay, image scores 83 points. Casey, this one's with you.
I'm at 87 on this. I think the water flow on this is beautiful. Exposure is really well done. I like this image a lot. Like the top of the frame having a little bit of space there between where the water flows over the peak of the waterfall. My main complaint is that there's a little too much information on the bottom of the frame. So there's some things down there on the very bottom of the frame, right into the cutoff there, or the crop, that are distracting. If you crop up, 10%, you cut those distracting elements out, and you could even crop up a little bit more to keep the focus into the water. And I would be much happier with the image, but I think I like this image a lot.
Yeah, this is Stephen. Sorry, Casey.
No, that's okay.
I like this image a lot too. I'm very drawn into it. I would also say I echo everything Casey has said in terms of cropping it from the bottom. And then it looks like there's a couple little dust spots or something right in the middle of the water there. I don't know if that's from the sensor or that's something sticking up in the water, but that's the only, those little tiny little niggles are the only thing that kind of distract me from getting very absorbed in this lovely photograph.
Okay, next image in the landscape category is 30 seconds in time. 30 seconds in time. Score is 81 points. And Stephen, this one's with you.
Yeah, I scored this just under that a little bit. I think that it's nicely seen, and the exposure certainly is well done with respect to giving the soft kind of flowing look to the water. I think the only thing why I scored this a little bit lower was that I find it a little bit too I'm having trouble separating all of the detail and the texture from the surrounding elements in the frame from the waterfall. And I don't know if it would be possible to soften that a little bit, or just shoot it in such a way that it wasn't so sharply, or just processed in a way that there's not so much texture that it takes my eye away from the waterfall.
Okay, thank you. Next score, next image in the landscape category is a classic New York skyline. A classic New York skyline. Image scores 78 points. Yannick.
I scored an 80, and I probably was more generous here. It's a nice image, as it says. It's classic. It's been seen and done many, many times. So nothing really innovative here. The big thing is that we have this extra space of water from below the column of the bridge, but then we're cutting off the bridge on the top.
Yeah.
So even the slight movement of the camera will have more reason to push it to the merit category. And also if the maker move tiny bit maybe toward the bridge, or just like a slightly different angle, move a little bit to the left, then the antenna of the building will not either cross or touch the bridge. So there'll be some kind of separation there as well.
Okay. So that was the last image in the landscape category, and we have, I believe, 2 images for review in the landscape category. I know that my judges will correct me, my scorers will correct me if I'm wrong. The first one is Bridges in the Night. Bridges in the Night. Again, if you can just give me a yes if you think it should go up, or no if you think it should stay the same in the chat. Okay, image remains the same. And then the final image for review is a classic New York skyline. A classic New York skyline. Same deal. Okay, there you go. And the image remains the same. Okay, at this point, we're going to give the judges about a 5 or 10 minute comfort break, and let them go and just stretch their legs, do whatever needs to be done. So we will return in 10 minutes' time. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The judges are refreshed, relaxed, and ready to get going. Next category is the nature category. And the first image in the nature category is Los Cabos, Land's End is all mine. Los Cabos, Land's End is all mine. Image scores 76 points. Casey, why don't you start us off on the second half?
Yeah, that was right near my score. I was at 76, I believe. Nice subject matter, and it's cute sitting in there at the top of the rock. The problem is time of day is light isn't all that flattering. It's a little flat and uninteresting, and you've got that highlighted waterfall behind there, sort of pulling focus away from the main subject, which is the seal that's sitting there at the top. So it's a little busy and a little less interesting than it could be with some better, more dramatic light.
Okay, thank you. Next image in the nature category, elegance. Elegance. Okay, image scores 82 points. Stephen, this one's with you.
Yeah, this is lovely. It's a snowy egret, I think, and it's very nicely done. The control of the light is excellent, as well as the rendition of the texture of the feathers of the egret while he or she is grooming. And I think the background is well handled with respect to the water, the fall off of the focus with the water. The only slightly distracting element I would say in this photograph is the detail in the shrubs at the left there. I realized that it may not have been possible for the maker to shift position a little bit to not have that in the photograph. But overall, I think it's a very nice nature image.
Okay. Next image in the nature category, cleared for landing. Cleared for landing. Okay, score is 81 points. Yannick, this one's yours.
I scored 83, I believe. It's really well made. I mean, given the bird is moving and capturing the frame like this, and it's sharp. So the proper exposure was done. I mean, there's no blown highlight in the feathers, so you can see all the feathers properly. I would, to make it, to the next, like higher score. What I would recommend is, instead of having the subject matter right in the middle of the frame, try to like frame it either, probably like in the left side, right? So that, the bird is flying into the frame. And also do some editing on the whiteness of the bird. It's, so to clean up the blue tint, because there's a little bit more, I think it's reflecting from whatever it's around. I think it would be cooler to have this bird really like pure white in this photo.
Excellent, thank you. That was the last image in the nature category. We have no images for review. So our next category is the photojournalism category. And as just a quick reminder to our judges, in the photojournalism category, we allow only minimal processing, essentially that which could be done in the darkroom. So conversion to black and white, dodging and light dodging and burning, and gentle cropping. But beyond that, nothing else. First image in the photojournalism category is Hunter. Hunter. Image scores 82 points. Casey, this one's with you.
Yeah, I was right at 82. Very interesting image. Love the presentation. The long, tall crop is quite interesting and works with the subject matter very well. The black and white is really well done. From highlight to shadow, handled nicely. I almost would like to see a little bit closer view of the hunter, which is the primary subject matter. I wonder what it would look like cropped off the bottom, so it would be a little closer and we could get a better view of him. But other than that, I think that an easy 82.
Okay. And then the final image in the photojournalism category is Along for the Ride. Along for the Ride. Okay, image scores 82 points. Stephen, back to you.
Yeah, I love this photograph. I think it's a classic example of photojournalism, being a photojournalist myself. I think the storytelling is excellent. I love the dynamism and energy in this photograph, the composition, the expression on the kid holding his puppy and his dad taking the puppy and the kids out for a ride, and the guy running along in front kind of giving chase to the little family on an outing here. So overall, I like this image a lot. Don't have a lot to add. Might crop in on the left just a skosh and on the bottom just a skosh, but that would just be my personal taste. But overall, I think it's very strong.
So that wraps up the photojournalism category. We have no images for review. And the next category is the portrait category. The portrait category, it's assumed that the maker has complete control over lighting, posing, and everything. First image in the portrait category is a princess. A princess. I beg your pardon, a princess portrait. A princess portrait, my mistake. Image scores 81 points. Yannick, this one is with you.
It's a well-done portrait. I mean, the lighting is good. You know, I like the rim lighting on the lady here. I mean, nice details everywhere. You know, unfortunately, sometimes too much editing is not that good, and I think this is what happened here, especially with the skin. The color of the face and the arm, the one on the camera left, it's completely different tones, and it seems like on the camera left arm it was way too much done as well in terms of colors. It just become like muddy grayish versus like the face, which is like well saturated. So sometimes probably like either too much with frequency separation, too much on the blurring on the low frequency. So take it easy, and otherwise that would be nice. The one thing that I also recommend on the camera left hand, I would push the wrist a little tiny bit down because it's like so straight right now, and just pushing the wrist a little bit down make those hands even more delicate. I mean the posing is already good, but it will take it to to the next level.
Thank you, sir. Next image in the portrait category is Monk. Monk. Image scores 82 points. Casey, this one's with you.
Yeah, I was right at 82. Some interesting compositional elements in here. I love the framing that's happening is really nice, intriguing and interesting all the way through the image. My problem is that really bright background sort of overpowers the main subject. He kind of just blends right in there above the head and shoulders, and it gets lost a little bit. I wish that wasn't the case. I'm at 82. I'd like to be higher than that, and I kind of can't find a way to get there with the way it's shown here. And then as well, the I know it's there, and you may not have had a opportunity to not have it there, but that out of focus lattice work or whatever it might be is a really distracting element. So 82 for me.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next image in the portrait category is Francisco. Francisco. Score is 86 points. Stephen, this one's with you.
Yeah, I'm right near. I was just a tick under, but I agree with the overall score. I think this portrait's excellent. The control of light, the control of the the tonality and the texture and detail in the subject relative to the background is all excellent. It's presented in a really lovely way as well. I don't really have a lot to add. I think this is a very, very nice portrait.
Excellent. Next portrait is a lady. A lady. Image scores 78 points. And Stephen, this one's with you.
Didn't I just do the last
Oh,
one?
you did? You're absolutely right. So I beg your pardon, Yannick.
I scored it, I believe, 77. It's a nice portrait. I mean, I like the expression on this lady. The hands are posed, very nicely as well. Where it lacks in a few things that could be improved to take this kind of portrait to the next level. One is that the eyes. There's a little bit of a catchlight in the eyes, but overall the eyes are very dark, and there's really no spark in those eyes. So definitely maneuver the light a little bit, within the portrait, so so that you can have those lively, the some kind of colors. I mean, not even colors, but it's just basically not black dots, for the eyes. Usually the red background, it's a very strong background, and it's going to compete with the subject. So unless you have a really good reason for a red background, I would recommend to avoid it. And also you could flag a little bit the light on her camera left shoulder, because it's kind of like it's brighter than, it's either at the same level of brightness, or it's a little bit brighter than her face. So if you flag that, the light, the coming on the shoulder, I think you'll be able to control the light even better on her.
Excellent. Thank you, Yannick. Next image, still in the portrait category, is ready. Ready. Image score 76 points. Casey, this one's yours.
Yeah, I'm right at 76. I like the pose. The dynamic impact of that is nicely done. The issue for me is that it's just overall a little too hot. I'd like to see this printed back quite a bit. Some vignetting thrown in there. Treatment is always helpful, a presentation. And you might get to a place that's a lot closer to a merit. But appearing straight out of the camera like this, you're not going to be able to pull that off with all of those issues going on.
Okay, thank you. Next image in the portrait category is I am happy. I am happy. Image scores 79 points, and Stephen, we're back with you.
I think this is a very nice child portrait. I scored this a little bit higher than 79. I think the composition is really good. I'm not a portrait photographer, so I might defer to Yannick or Casey with respect to this. But overall, I like it a lot. The only very slight disconnect for me is that the tone of the complexion of her face is slightly different than her hands and feet. I don't know if that was just, maybe she's got a little bit of a tan or something. I think the catchlights in the eyes are rendered well. There could be just a touch more detail in the hair, but overall, I think it's well handled.
Okay.
Nick, one thing that I could add, that the chair is way too hot.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that choosing the material of the chair. It's very reflective and also shiny. So you're going to have a very hard time controlling the light on the material like this. Plus, she blends in way too much with this white, so you don't know really what was the chair, was the dress. So, be careful, what kind of material you use for the, for the dog, for the girl to sit on.
That's a really good catch, Yannick. Thank you.
Thank you, Yannick. Definitely appreciate that comment. Next image in the portrait category is playful. Playful. Image scores 79 points, and Yannick, this one's with you.
I scored 80, and I was on the edge whether to marry or not. Color-wise is beautifully done. The lighting on her face is done properly. The skin tones, for both hands and her face are nicely done as well. What for me, the first thing distracting is the posing of the hands. Both hands look awkward. So the camera left, the wrist is actually bent toward the camera. So something always works better when you push the wrist away from the camera. And then the other hand, those fingers are like way too much apart. So it looks, it definitely looks, kind of tense. Otherwise, and I don't know whether it's just, because it's a web, but, there's really lack of detail on the texture background in the bottom of the photo. In the top part, there is, definitely some texture because the light, the background light is there, but then it's kind of losing into the full darkness in the bottom.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next image in the portrait category is A Prayer of Hope. A Prayer of Hope. Okay, this one scores 86 points. Casey, let's hear from you.
86. Okay, I was at 90 for this. I think this is an exquisite portrait, actually. The sophistication and lighting here is just off the charts. The presentation is fantastic. The monochrome treatment of the color scheme is just exquisite all the way through. I love everything about this. The highlight on the skin that separates out the mask of the face from all the rest of the image, even a little bit brighter than what's on the hands, it's very skillfully done. There's a lot of impact. I absolutely love this portrait.
Cool, thank you. Next image is...
Well, I'm sorry, what was the score?
The final score was 86 points.
I'll challenge. I think that this maker deserves a few more points than that.
Okay, so Stephen, let's hear your comments on this.
I have to agree with what Casey said. I scored this a little bit lower than that, but I'm happy to go higher. My only thought as to why I was a little bit lower is I'd like to see just a hint more luminance on the subject, but other than that, I agree with everything Casey said.
Okay, Yannick?
I scored at 86. The main is I agree with what Casey was saying. That it's beautifully done, but my main problem why I didn't take it to higher or even to a 90 are the colors actually. The hair color, in the dark, in the dark part is like more brownish, and then to the camera right is more greenish and then reddish. So there's some kind of like weird colors going on. And also his skin looks more on the green tint. It's kind of like conflicting with the overall feel of the photo. So, it's like the overall, toning is like in the, low saturation of reds with some yellows, and then the skin is, especially on the front of the face, is so much greener, like for example his neck. And then and then the hair color is changing colors. So those are the main reasons behind my score.
Okay, Casey, in rebuttal.
I would suggest that maybe the hair color is colored. That's a popular thing that a lot of people do these days, and that it is subdued by the technique that the photographer used to subdue the whole image, but some of the color still might show through. So for me, that kind of color shifting in the hair wouldn't bother me. I think that how subtle he's used light to show the texture and all of that hair is just fantastic. So that would be my only rebuttal to anything that was said. I think that we can get him a few more points, and we'll see where we wind up.
Cool. Okay, gentlemen, if you would refresh your browsers and re-enter the scores, this time making sure that you press challenge, that would be great. Final score is 90 points. Thank you very much. Okay.
Ooh.
So good challenge. Good challenge. And the next image in the portrait category is Zanzibar or Zanzibar. I don't know which you're supposed to say, but Zanzibar or Zanzibar. Image scores 78 points. Stephen, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, I was real close to that. I think within a point. I think it's a nice pose of the subject. She's certainly connecting with the photographer with respect to the eye contact, which is really nice. I think her position on the bench there is also nice and engaging. The only thing that for me, I think, is again the management of the light here. The background, the luminance is too bright, and it just leads my eye away from the subject to the background. Again, luminosity masking here, I think would win the day. Also, the beam on the far right there, could be cropped out so that I think it doesn't, kind of impinge on the framing a little bit. So I think it's a good effort, and it has potential to be better.
I got a couple of items to add here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I believe I scored a 76 on this one. There's definitely some few things going on with the pose that should be addressed. One is the camera left arm is pointing straight into the camera. That's usually 90% of the time it's not flattering to the body, and usually because it's shortened the arm. The second arm, the camera right arm, I don't see the hand. It's like it's really look chopped off. And there's really no space between the arm and the body, so it kind of all blends in together as one. The crop, in the bottom should be also addressed because it's like really halfway through the chins, so that's usually doesn't work so well. The necklace, it's not straight. I think when we do a portrait, we have to pay attention to those little details on the portrait, on the person. So straighten out the necklace, and I would definitely clone out the plate behind her on the bench. It's just distracting. So otherwise, the facial expression, the light, the backlighting on her face and the hair is beautiful. So just right now, just work more on the pose to make the most flattering, out of, I mean, she's already in great shape, but you can make really her look beautiful.
Thank you, Yannick. I'm sure the maker will appreciate those comments. Next image in the portrait category is remembering. Remembering. Yeah, and the score is 83 points. Yannick.
I scored 83. Beautiful portraits. The lighting it's very nice, directional. On this lady, well controlled. I like the on her back of the body is beautifully lit as well. I like the that her body is leaning towards camera right, so that as your eye enters the frame from the bottom left, it kind of goes around the body and just kind of anchors on her face. Because so it's really like the maker really makes the viewer focus on her face. It's a low-key portrait, so I'm okay with the eyes a little bit darker, but otherwise beautiful portrait.
Thank you very much. Okay, next image in the portrait category is colors. Colors. Image scores 79 points. Casey.
Yeah, I'm right at 80, and it was borderline for me. I was torn on it. I could have gone either way. I decided to go with the maker on this a little bit. I like what they've done with the cross lighting with the colors on both sides. It's kind of interesting. It's got some impact. The longer I stay with the image, the more certain things bother me. The teeth seem to be over retouched. Some of the eyes in the eyes it looks a little over sharpened for me anyway. And then I think a little bit more fill into the shadow side of the face so that doesn't go, I think would be more flattering to her. But still, it's right on the border for me. So not a terrible job altogether.
Okay, the next image in the portrait category is in black. In black.
In black?
In black.
Okay, thank you.
Image scores 79 points. Stephen, this one's yours.
I think this is a nicely done portrait. I scored this just a little bit higher. I think the lighting control is quite good. And the engagement with the subject with the camera is also very good. There's a little something down by his left knee, camera left, that I find a little bit distracting that could probably be cloned out or just masked or flagged off somehow. And again, I'm not a portrait photographer, so I'll maybe leave it to Yannick to kind of add some comment around the pose of the hands and things like that on this subject.
Yeah, this is another example. You see, like the camera right hand is the forearm is pointing straight into the camera, so just a small movement of the hand will actually make it, you know, much stronger. And the backlight, it's a little bit too strong. It's actually brighter than his face. The backlight we use just to accentuate the background. It should not compete with the person we're photographing. Yep.
Thank you. And the next image portrait category is dog. Dog. Image scores 87 points. Yannick, this one's yours.
I'd like to challenge it.
Okay.
I mean, this is absolutely amazing portrait. It's super strong. I mean, the moment it appears on the screen has the impact. You know, his look, the control of the lighting, and the skin shyness, and you know, all across, even the shining his shirt is all controlled very nicely. His face, you know, we can see the background light also is well controlled, so it doesn't compete with the face. It just kind of like makes him, you know, stand out even more. But it's more, you know, the expression and fantastic lighting on his face, especially for this kind of skin color. It's super well done.
What was your score?
The score was 87 points.
No, what was Yannick's score?
Oh,
yeah.
I scored at 92.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Casey, could you comment on the image, please?
I was at 87 and love the image. The specular highlights are fantastic. It's just so well managed and sophisticated. Love it. I could easily come up. Yeah, I'm into the 90s, so no problem coming up.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I'm happy to come up. I think Yannick raised some really good points, and I'm happy to score this higher.
Yannick, in rebuttal?
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for cooperation here.
Okay,
Yeah.
gentlemen, if you would refresh your browsers and rescore, please, with this time hitting the challenge category button before you hit submit. Final score is 91 points. 91 points.
Wow, well done. Good challenge. Good challenge. Yeah.
Okay, next image in the portrait category, crazy hair. Crazy hair. And this is actually the final image in the category. Score is 81 points. Casey, this one's yours.
I was at 79. An engaging subject, lovely model. The hair is great. I love everything that was done there, and I like the lighting. My issue is I'd like to see a little vignetting a little bit on that arms and just focus into her face a little bit more. Even on the bottom where some of her shoulders peeking in, that kind of pulls focus a little bit away from her face and eyes, and where I want to be a little bit more. A presentation would help this. It really, when you see a flat image like this that has nothing to help the judges appreciate the image more, it doesn't subtract points, but it doesn't let it, for me anyway, it doesn't let me add them either. I want to see a really nice presentation on something like this, so couldn't quite be merit on it.
Okay, thank you. So that was the last image in the portrait category. We have 6 images for review. First one was a lady, which scored 78 points. Image remains the same. The next image is I Am Happy, which scored 79 points. Image remains the same. And the next image is Playful, which also scored 79 points. The image remains the same. The next one is Zanzibar or Zanzibar, which scored 78 points. There we go. Image remains the same. And then we have Colors, which scored 79 points. There we go. Image remains the same. And then finally we have In Black, which scored 79 points. Image remains the same. Okay, the next category we have is Seniors. First image in the category is I Am Ready. I Am Ready. Image scores 78 points. Stephen, take it away.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate score. I think I was right near there. Overall, I think it's quite well done. I think that the crop on the left is just a little bit too tight around her hair. It could have been just a little bit wider so that it's not quite cut off there. And then the biggest things for me are the bright elements up at the upper right. Those are pretty bright, and those could be brought down, burned in, or maybe cropped. Again, luminance masking. And there's some distracting things that are dark in the background there that kind of lead me away from the subject a bit. So again, I would say just paying attention to the background elements would help this.
Thank you. Next image is Drama. Drama. Image scores 83 points. Yannick, this one's yours.
I scored 83. It's beautifully done. I mean, the lighting, nice directional lighting. I'm not sure why the title is Drama. I mean, I think the most dramatic part of this portrait is her hair, which, her face is pretty stoic. So, maybe there's some other, story behind it, but it's beautifully done. I would just maybe open the shadows tiny bit on her camera right face, because it goes really into deep blacks. But since it's a more contrasty, portrait, I'm okay with it. But just to see, whether we just do a little bit better. Otherwise, beautiful portrait.
Okay, thank you. Next image in the Seniors category is Soft Beauty. Soft Beauty. Image scores 78 points. Casey, this one's yours.
Yeah, I was at 78 on this. Lovely senior. I think that the lighting on her is nice, but let's start with the background. There's a little too much detail in the background. I'd like that to go out a little bit darker, and the whole image should be printed down just a little bit. It's just a little too bright, a little too poppy in the highlights on the face. Okay. Looking into the back of her hand right there is not necessarily a flattering look for hands. I do kind of like that little kind of self-hug kind of feel to it, and she's got a great expression on her face, but I think it needs to be a little bit more density in the exposure, and we'd be happier with it.
Okay, thank you. Next image in the Seniors category is Lacrosse Boss. In fact, this is the final image, Lacrosse Boss. Image scores 83 points. Stephen, this one's yours.
Yeah, I think this is very well done. I scored it pretty close to that as well. It's a very interesting concept. Clearly, this is an athlete, and the conception, I think, overall is very well suited for that. The pose, I think, is engaging and athletic, particularly for the sport that he's playing. I would say that the only little thing that I might consider for the maker to do is just to maybe bring down the luminance on that helmet just a little bit, so that it's little bit better separated from the background there. It looks like it's hard to distinguish where the helmet ends and the background begins, and also the wings a little bit. But other than that, I think it's very strong.
Okay, thank you. That was the final image. In the seniors category, we have 2 images for review. The first one is I Am Ready. I Am Ready. Image remains the same. And then the second one is Soft Beauty. I should say that scored 78. Soft Beauty also scored 78. Image remains the same. Okay, our final category for the evening is the wedding category. These are for images shot on the day of the wedding, quinceañera, bar mitzvah, or other similar event. So they're shot under live conditions. And our first image in the wedding category is A Princess in Wonderland. A Princess in Wonderland. Image scores 81 points. Yannick, this one is with you.
I scored it 77. The position of the bride is pretty good, to be within the bushes. I think the green tint is a little bit too strong. It really affects even the skin colors.
Yep.
And it's just the green saturation is actually competing with the bride portrait here. And it looks like it's not straight. I mean, the stairs in the back are not straight, so you can level it. And I think the line just behind her is not straight either. So just tilt it a little bit to make it straight.
Okay. Next image in the wedding category, Royal Love. Royal Love. Image scores 79 points. Stephen, this one's yours.
Yeah, I think I was right at 79 for this. I think overall the concept is intriguing for me. I would say that the biggest issues that I have with this photograph are separating the subjects, the couple from the background. The background, I think, is very complicated and complex. It's also canted a little bit geometrically off center to the left. And it's just about as in focus as the subjects, and the bride in particular has a very detailed and ornamental dress. So I'm having trouble separating the couple from the background and all the detail in the background.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Next image, My Special Day. My Special Day. Image scores 77 points, I beg your pardon. Casey, I apologize, I skipped over you so that you get this one.
No problem. I was right at 76 for this. She's got a very nice expression, but it kind of gets lost behind the veil, unfortunately. And the lighting overall for the images is kind of very flat and not that interesting. And so it doesn't flatter her almost in any way, shape, or form. The red roses are a large element that's very distracting from her face. It just pulls focus away. It's almost bigger than her whole head is how much flowers are in the frame. So couldn't quite get into a merit for me.
Okay, thank you. And then the final image of the competition is Take My Breath Away. Take My Breath Away. Final score is 82 points. Yannick, you get to close out the evening. This one's yours.
I scored 78. It's a good, nice concept. I think that it's a little bit over-processed. It's like, it's so contrasty that, the faces are becoming just like blob of color. And also in the posing, usually recommend that the guy, and it's usually, the guy always tilts his head, his head toward the camera. I would recommend doing the opposite way so that you can see a little bit more, you see the nose of the bride versus the groom. So basically the groom, tilts his head away from the camera, the bride, tilts a little bit toward the camera. Also, when you implement architectural elements like this, make sure that those lines are straight.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many vertical lines, and none of them is really straight. Even the balcony, the horizontal balcony, it's not properly aligned. So there's definitely some lens distortion here, or maybe like even stretching of the image. Is basically, just those lines are just not, they're just too distracting, versus focusing on the bride and then the groom.
Excellent, thank you.
I concur.
Oh, go ahead.
I concur with all the comments about the architectural elements.
So we have one image for review in the wedding category, and that is Royal Love, which scored 79 points. Image remains the same, and that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the festivities for this evening. Thank you, IEPPV, for coming to watch the competition. I'm sorry that we were not able to get it to stream live. We did have some technical difficulties, but I hope that you will enjoy the replay that we got out quickly. So this is Nick Seth-Smith signing off. Thank you to our judges, and we will now go into the hard part of picking the best of show, which you will find out about next month. Once again, IEPPV, good night, and thank you very much. Take care.